Hello, this is Dave Travels in Time. How is everybody? So today I'm going to be doing a review. A review of Power Rangers in Space. Since last time I did the review of Turbo. And while Turbo wasn't one of my favorite seasons of all time, it's kind of middle tier. I feel like it got better towards the end, like I said before. So basically, In Space continues from where Turbo left off, where they're in space, going in the rocket, going in the shuttle, and they're on their way to In Space to search for Zordon. And Justin is left behind. I don't know if it was something to do with the contract at the time, but he's not in this iteration of Power Rangers. Well, he doesn't exist. We'll talk about that later. So basically, the beginning of the first episode of the series begins with the villains all talking to each other, celebrating the destruction of the Rangers, command center stuff. So Steve talks, Lord Zed, Rita, all of them are celebrating, and all the tapes, King Mondo, Machine Empire, all those ones. But then Astronema, who's the new villain in this series, more on the paper. Basically what happens is she spots this cloaked figure, and it turns out to be none other than a red Space Green Power Ranger. And he goes off this space skateboard type thing that they have. They're really cool, sky gliders, and it's cool. And he goes out into space, trying to escape. Good scene right there, and of course Dark Spectre is another main villain of this, and he was the villain in Turbo. It's kind of like this lava-looking creature. So basically, the Rangers board the ship, basically, which is the Astro Mega ship. Astro Mega ship. And this turns out later to be Andros, who's the Red Space Ranger's spaceship. And it's cool. I like the robot too, the computer, Deca. It's kind of like a takeoff on this one movie, like 2001, like just kind of like a talking computer. It's got the red circle, like almost like that old movie. What was it? 2001: Space Odyssey. It's kind of similar to that. Kind of similar to that in that regard. And basically, they encounter Andros, and they don't know what to think of him. You know, the Red Space Ranger. Kind of good. Andros doesn't know what to think of them. He's like, they're stowaways. Who are these people? And he's not convinced who they are. But later on, when he's convinced, he helps them out. He helps prepare Alpha, get the voice box working, because basically Alpha was all scrambled in the damage from the season finale of Turbo. So, basically, Alpha convinces Andros to help them. Basically, he just wanted them to go back to Earth. He didn't want anything to do with them. I think it's a strong hint that some people say, well, it's because he's introverted. Yeah, that's part of it. But I also think it was because something happened to his team at one point, I think. And that, because he had later on, like once he comes back and, you know, he hands them the morphers. How did he make those morphers so fast? Like, did Zordon give him those morphers, or did he make those themselves? And did something happen to the team that used those morphers? It's never made quite clear what happened in that regard. But anyway, he hands them the morphers. He comes back, thanks to Alpha convincing Andros to help them. And he's like, yeah, you're probably right. So he comes back, and then he gives them the morphers, the astromorphers, and then they become the Space Rangers. So basically, that was cool. The Quantrons are like these robotic ones that they're fighting. Those are the minions of like Astronema. And I quite like Ecliptor too. He's kind of a good villain, robotic. He's kind of like this robot, green robot guy with a big pelvis. And he's kind of like green and black, and he can shoot lasers out of him. He's pretty dang cool. And then, of course, there's the creepy Dark Honda, who will come in later. He's really creepy looking. Now, and then there's the Ninja Turtle episode, which was fun. The Ninja Turtles come in, and then basically Astronema kind of like hypnotizes them to work for her. So it's kind of cool to see a Ninja Turtle episode. I like that two-parter. So that was cool. And then the Ninja Turtles, break the spell and they help the Rangers later. So that was cool. It is an interesting season because, technically Andros, yeah, he's the Red Space Ranger, right? Technically he is a leader, but technically he's not because half the time TJ is the leader, even though he's blue and not the Red Ranger, because usually it's always the Red Ranger who's the leader, right? But sometimes, half the time, because Andros goes on his own and sometimes he's a lone wolf sometimes, it feels like TJ is the leader and Andros is the second in command. Even though, yeah, it kind of switches off, I feel like, with them. And another interesting thing that happens too, I'm just mainly talking about the important things in it. I could go through every episode if I wanted to, but that would be a long video. I'm just going to talk about the major details of it that I found that I liked, and the twists and turns of it. So basically, Dark Honda turns out to be the one that takes over, that kidnapped Andros' sister, the one he's been looking for. It was all Dark Honda when they were kids. He was the one that kidnapped her. And, that's part of the main storyline of the show is, him trying to find his sister, not just about trying to find Zordon. That's another plot point, but he doesn't find Zordon until the middle of the season, and then he finds him again at the end. So in the middle of the season, basically, we find out Zane, who's a Silver Ranger, he basically was in cryostasis. He's in suspended animation. He's on the brink of basically death, it looks like. But he's, Andros kind of kept that from the other Rangers. He does keep the secrets for sure. So he's definitely, kind of mysterious, but I kind of like that about him. He's different from previous Red Rangers in that regard. And then later on, we find out he has a thing for Ashley, who's the Yellow Ranger he has. And then they start dating. And then another twist that happens later, of course, the major plot twist. But now that I see it, it's a little bit more obvious now, but because they both have the necklaces, right? So Astronema turns out to be Andros' sister, Corone. But basically, she's been brainwashed since a kid to become basically raised to be bad, right? So, but when he finds out, he says, the necklace, you're my sister, right? He says, you're my sister. And basically, yeah, it's a major plot twist because it's like, holy crap. So, really, this is what happened. So, she was the sister? Whoa. And it's a good plot twist. Of course, she doesn't fully believe him, but Andros knows now the truth that this whole time Astronema was Corone, the sister. And so he's determined to get her back. And basically it appears toward, in the middle of the season, she appears to work with him and but obviously TJ especially and a few of the other Rangers, they're not convinced. They're convinced that, it's a trap, that Astronema / Corone is putting this thing them into a trap. Which it does appear at when they go to find Zordon and then all the Quantrons and all these other guys are there, that it looks like a trap. But actually, at the end of it again, she helps again. So actually, she was tricking the bad guys to help them, even though it looked like she was working for the bad guys still. Like Dark Spectre, for example, and all that. And another surprise that I like the twist of was basically Ecliptor at the end. He helps her and the Ranger. He helps her and the Rangers escape. Unfortunately, he gets brainwashed. So just as he was starting to become technically more on the good side, he gets brainwashed. So basically, he's way he was before, but worse, because Dark Honda brainwashes him, and he's controlled. So that sucked. Yeah, I feel bad for Ecliptor. I'll tell you about that at the end, but he kind of gets a raw deal. And then basically they're on this mission, and unfortunately, Ecliptor is already brainwashed. He's controlled by Darkonda and Dark Spectre. So basically, he brainwashes her now. So now she's under the control. She's got this chip like Ecliptor does, and and basically they have to stop them. And of course, Andros is really down because he just felt like he was getting his sister back, only to get her to get brainwashed and become Astronema again. And now these new villains that she helps create are called the Psycho Rangers, which are these crazy looking Rangers, evil versions of the Rangers that are more psycho. And they have these bolts and lasers, and they have these other weapons that they can use against the Rangers, and they're tough to fight. And they made for good villains, actually. They did make for some really good villains. So overall, I do like this series. It's entertaining. It's darker, definitely, than some of the previous Ranger shows, for sure. There's definitely more seriousness, but there's also fun, campy parts of it too that make it Power Rangers. So that's good. And I do like the acting by everyone. They all do good jobs. Melody Perkins, who plays Karone, so that's Astronema. And obviously the main cast. Christopher Kamen Lee, who plays Andros, and the rest of the cast do awesome as the Rangers. Tracy Lynn Cruz, who plays Ashley, and then Carlos Velasco, who plays Carlos. And of course, TJ, Selman Ward. Yep. And all of them do great jobs as Rangers. And yeah, like I said, Justin reappears as the Blue Ranger again because they come to Earth. And they help Justin with his. They help Justin. So that was cool to see him back for one episode. One other favorite episode of mine is probably the one where Adam comes back, the one from Zeo. Because basically he comes back to help Carlos because he doesn't want to be a Ranger anymore because he accidentally injures Cassie, the Pink Ranger, during a battle. And he just basically wants to quit. But, Adam trains him and tries to convince him, but Carlos is having none of it. He just wants to be done being a Power Ranger. He's like, I'm done. But when Adam needs help, he then helps him, and then he's determined to still stay a Power Ranger. So that was a good episode. And so in the series finale, basically, it's about, they come to Earth basically to conquer it. Astronema, Ecliptor, and all of them. All the Megazords have been destroyed in battle, so they don't really have any Megazords left. So it was tough. So obviously he has to go and face his sister. And then he finds Zordon there. And then they're caught in battle, him and his sister, him and Astronema Karone. And then they get in a battle and it appears she dies, but more on that in a second. Then Ecliptor gets pissed off because he's like, you killed my princess. And then they have a fight. And then, of course, Zordon tells Andros he has to destroy his tube, and it's the only way to defeat the evil. So he destroys his stasis tube, Zordon's is bye-bye, and all the evil is defeated. But the only part that I would go, oh, it's not fair, is because, all these people that were bad, just as bad, if not worse than Ecliptor, right? And Ecliptor started to become better towards the end. I feel like he got a raw deal because, all of them get to exist as human except him, right? So Zed, Rita, they all get to live as humans now, right? So they're not their bad selves anymore, but they all get to live as humans, as good. But then Ecliptor, just because he's a robot, he doesn't get to live as one. He just turns into dust. I thought that kind of sucked because it's like, okay, they get to live, but then he dies just because he's robotic. He got the raw deal. But yeah, and then Andros cries, and then basically the tears somehow bring Corone back to life. It's almost like some out of a fairy tale. I think they took that from that probably, and then sees back to life, and then they defeated the evil, and that was the end of it basically. Then they all head back to Earth. Yeah, overall, it's a pretty good series. I'll give it a 9.5 just because there's that small thing that always bugged me about Ecliptor. But it's close to a 10. It is a good series. It's one of my top 5 favorite Power Ranger series of all time. And yeah, it's well written, and I definitely recommend it. And it definitely improves on Turbo. And this was supposed to be the last season of Power Rangers because the Rains were really bad for Turbo. And this was the end, because when they defeated the evil, that was planned to be the end. But because the ratings went way up with the series, they basically made Lost Galaxy, which I'll talk about at some point to review of that. But yeah, I'd say it's a well-written series. I definitely recommend it. The acting, some of the effects look a little hokey now. I mean, what are you going to do? Because it's over 20 years old now at this point. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend Power Rangers in Space. And it's got one of my favorite theme songs in the franchise, too. So, anyway, guys, take care. Hope you have a good one. Take care. Peace. Bye for now.